Thank you for tuning in to the Colts Report with Sam Frick and Will Rutherford, and today with guest Grant Shouse, reacting to the Colts 27-20 loss in Los Angeles to the Rams, the first loss of the season, and quite honestly one that they gave away. That being said, as we discussed, there were also a lot of positives and a lot of winnable games coming up. We will talk more about that and break down the film and grade all the units and the players and have a full report for you on Wednesday on the Colts Report. And then on Friday afternoon, we will preview the Colts and Raiders. The Raiders coming to town. John Robertson's Las Vegas Raiders coming to Indianapolis, and I don't think they're leaving town with a win.
You're listening to the Colts Report. Sam Frick's, Will Rutherford's, and guest Grant Shouse's reaction to the Colts' 27-20 loss to the Rams. And here's your host, Greg Mingelt.
Welcome, Colts fans, to the Central Indiana Sports Report for today's Colts Report, our reaction to the Colts' 27-20 loss in Los Angeles to the Rams. And I know there's a lot to talk about, and there's going to be some things that we're going to have to point out for once, negatively, I think. That being said, the Colts just competed with one of the best teams in the league on the road without Kenny Moore, had a chance to win, and gave it away. And that's a good sign. And by the way, correctable mistakes. A.D. Mitchell is never going to do that again the rest of his career. Nobody who has ever done that has ever done it again, because you'd have to be an absolute buffoon to do that twice. So I think we should just move on from that. But I think the number one takeaway for me is that they are good enough to compete with really good teams, even on the road. Sam.
Yes, I think to a degree you would be correct. I think in this ballgame, I thought the thing that I took away early on was I thought the Colts did a good job of defensively doing a good job of stopping the run a little bit and be able to force the Rams to have to kind of make some adjustments early on. So I thought our front line did a much better job in this game than what's been the first couple weeks. And particularly, Mike Hilton, I want to make sure I mention him. That fumble recovery in the the third quarter when we were ahead and we recovered that fumble, we had an opportunity to go up 2 scores in that game. Hilton's fumble recovery set up an opportunity to do so. Unfortunately, we didn't convert and to get another touchdown, and we kept it so for points, which is fine. But I think the key thing I think we took away from this game was the Colts played almost mistake-free football through 3 weeks. Today, they made a lot more mistakes than Adonai Mitchell made in this game. Adonai Mitchell made 2 very costly plays in this game. One was the obvious fumble that would have looked to be a touchdown. He fumbled and it became a touchback, and obviously the rest is history there. And the other was the offensive pass interference that negated the Jonathan Taylor touchdown in the fourth quarter, where following the Colts drive, the Rams would go on to score an 88-yard touchdown pass in the very next play. Obviously, those were costly, but I thought the Colts made a lot of mistakes on both ends of the field today. Offensively, I'm sure the coaching staff is constantly consulting him right now to give him advice. They'll learn from this. I understand that there are fans demanding him to get cut right now. I'm not on that bandwagon. I know he hasn't quite lived up to his potential, but he's got a lot of ceiling. He's a young player. We got to make sure we are understanding that he's a young football player that needs to learn from those mistakes. That being said, with the Indianapolis Colts, we made way more mistakes than that. Obviously, Daniel Jones had 2 picks. Definitely not his best game overall there, but I thought he was better than I anticipated against the Los Angeles Rams. I thought Bernard Raymond had a rough game today, having to fill the hole of not having Gonzalez on the field today because of an injury. That was a big blow for us going into that football game, was not having Gonzalez out there. That would obviously the offensive line struggled a bit more in this football game. Now, I will say this, Jonathan Taylor had a solid game by his standards. And then even like Adonai Mitchell, aside from those 2 big mistakes, he had 96 receiving yards on 3 catches. So the upside is definitely there for him. He just got to be more consistent and learn from those mistakes. Defensively, we had issues, and clearly we struggled against the pass. And Xavier Howard, once again, cannot cover for whatever reason. He's just not a Pro Bowl corner. We are struggling, and without Kenny Moore, I have a lot of question marks moving forward on how we're going to be able to stop the best wide receivers in the NFL right now, because that is a concern without the presence of an elite nickel like Kenny Moore. And I hope Colts fans are starting to wake up to that Kenny Moore is an elite nickel, and we need some help in the secondary beyond Kenny Moore right now. But obviously today, the Colts just made too many mistakes. That's the key takeaway, is we fumbled the game beyond just the Adonai Mitchell mistakes. And yes, I am not an Adonai Mitchell fan, so don't tell me I'm a golden boy and whatnot on that. Say I'm praising Adonai Mitchell and I'm just giving them all the roses. I am far from an Adonai Mitchell fan, but we need to cut the crap saying that, well, I'm just being nice and being and I'm being too generous. Adonai Mitchell made 2 mistakes. The Colts made way more mistakes than just Adonai Mitchell, and we need to learn from those mistakes and regroup. I will say this before we move on. I am proud of the Colts' resilience. After that Mitchell fumble into the end zone, I am very proud of the way we responded coming out of that. We showed moments of fight in this game that I think in past years, the Colts would have just folded immediately. And so I would say in response to that, we did show some growing moments in terms of a character of the football team. We just need to learn from the mistakes, play much cleaner football for the next game.
Yeah, I think it's a tough loss. They just absolutely gave this game away. I think that everybody's on going about the second holding penalty, I guess the second mistake for Mitchell on the day. That wasn't going to be a touchdown because the guy that was going to make the play got tackled. It's easy to sit here and say, well, we saw Taylor, have a 50-yard run. He was going to get tackled. I mean, you had 2 guys converging on him, and a holding penalty was obvious. I don't really know if it was. I'm not sure what the blocking was there. He just kind of wrapped him up. One thing that bothered me a little bit, I think, was the Tyler Warren offensive pass interference. Just incredibly weak, I thought. You see that play quite often by tight ends in the league. He didn't make the defender not able to make a play on the ball. It was still a contested catch. That was I think, the game-changing play, because you had to settle for 3 rather than scoring a touchdown after the turnover, the Rams fumbling in the Colts red zone. There's not really any moral victories in the NFL. They just played a bad game. They got burnt, and they had it coming. I wouldn't say that they particularly played well on either side of the ball. Jones was pretty good outside of the 2 interceptions. It was nice that they got the ball to Warren a little bit more, but they've got to cut Xavier Howard. He just cannot be on this team. I don't know why who thought it was a good idea, why they thought that Nakua was the guy we're going to put Howard on. I would much rather see Devontae Adams go off than see Nakua go off. I don't know why you don't put Mooney Ward on him. The Jalen Jones hamstring injury, I think, highlights that until this Colts team gets him back, they're going to struggle on that number 2 receiver. Tough loss, and Jacksonville won. They had a chance to hold serve and continue to hold a lead there in the division. They lost a game that they just had no business losing. It's disappointing.
Will said there's no moral victories in the NFL, and it's a tough loss. It's on the road. You're 3-0. I still think the Broncos win was a quality win. The Titans aren't very good. The Dolphins aren't very good. But the thing about being 3-0 in the NFL, again, entering this game, is that you beat 3 pro football teams. So I think the Colts were a legit team entering the game today, is what I'm saying. I think they're still a legit team when they get on the plane and fly home tonight. It's a tough loss, but it's early enough in the year. You're going to be able to learn from it, like Sam said, and be able to regroup. Now, the thing about Xavier Howard, like Will was just saying, and that they need to cut him. Well, first of all, they signed him because I think the general manager is just incompetent. Just thought that it would maybe spark headlines, and I think they thought that they could get a little bit of production out of him. Well, they can't, because he's not very good. He's an old defensive back. Yeah. And they chose to line him up against a top 10 receiver in the entire league today. And it did not bode well for him. And Nakua was able to burn him, made big plays on him. And this one is one that, you can chalk up for the Colts making too many mistakes. Just way too many mistakes, way too many penalties. They fumbled the ball when they shouldn't have. Fortunately, they recovered it, had a bad holding penalty against Bernard Ryman at one time. Jones, 2 interceptions today, and then, we know about A.D. Mitchell dropping the ball in the end or just outside the end zone, and you're going to see that on TV the entire week. But like Sam was saying,
gave away, Grant, without question. I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm trying not to be too negative because, again, I think the positive to me long term is more important than the negative of a loss. But it's definitely a game they gave away.
No question, it's a game they gave away. And it's like we were talking about after the Indiana-Iowa game yesterday. Iowa threw away that game against Indiana. Well, the Colts pretty much did the same thing. They had a lead in the middle of the fourth quarter. It's one thing, I think, you let the team tie the game and then you have just a horrible drive, horrible execution where you kept getting backed up because of penalties, and then you had a fumble that backed you up even more, even though you recovered it. It's so unfortunate to see that happen to this team because they were playing so well. And I thought they played well today in some spurts. Daniel Jones, even though he had a really good first 3 weeks after this game, I don't think they need to reevaluate the quarterback situation at this point. I still think he's the guy. I still think he's the guy that they need on the field more than Richardson at this point. At this point, in my opinion. Now, we could come back in a few weeks if he's, played bad and have a different opinion. But I still think he's the guy for the Colts, and he's the one that's made plays in the first 4 weeks. And he just threw 2 bad interceptions today. I didn't see the first one. I heard it on the radio. But the last one was thrown into double coverage. He was looking for Michael Pittman. That ball almost, I feel like, had no chance to get to Michael Pittman today.
I don't know about that. I think they made it. Culp made a really good play on that. And I'm not sure if he doesn't, Michael Pittman doesn't come up with that ball because you trust Michael Pittman to make that catch. He is a point of the ball receiver. And I think it's worth the shot there when you're down 7 points.
Well, my question I was going to ask Will and Sam is, what's your thoughts on Tyler Warren throughout the first 4 weeks?
I think he's incredible. I think he's a top 3 tight end probably in the league already. He's that good. He's incredible. His point of catch is awesome. I think they able to use him in a million different formations, a million different positions. He had a rushing touchdown today. I think that the play that bothers me the most was just that offensive pass interference because I just think it's a weak call. I thought it was kind of a call that you see. I don't know. Does that get called 75% of the time? No, but I don't think it changed the play. It was a physical play that he made, and the defender still had an opportunity to make a play on the ball that would have put him inside the 5-yard line. I don't know. I love that they are able to use him in every type of variety, every type of little extra flavor or spice you want to. He's an absolute game changer, and I don't think that there's really a way that a team can scheme up how to stop him without basically just holding him the entire game.
I want to just kind of add a couple of points. Oh, mind you, Tyler Warren is only 23 years old. He's the same age as Anthony Richardson, which is crazy enough. Tyler Warren, he's basically our Rob Gronkowski of the Indianapolis Colts, if we're going to be quite honest. Just the build work, the framework. He's a blocking tight end. He's a receiving tight end as well. He changes the entire way of the offensive line for the Indianapolis Colts. I thought his presence made a lot of big plays, and particularly plays that set up touchdowns. And I agree with you, Will, all the way. That should not have been a pass interference on Tyler Warren. That's a 50-50 call that should have put that whistle away all day on that one. I completely agree with you on that. But that's here and there. I don't think that's what cost us the game ultimately. In the end, I just think the Colts just made too many mistakes in key moments, and we just never quite cleaned it up after that. And I think it's just that was the key thing here. One thing I do want to shout out to is Nick Cross up front. I thought he had a pretty big game for the Colts. I think he led the team in tackles today, which I think was on 14 tackles today for the Colts. I thought he played a pretty good game as well against the Rams. But overall, lots of correctable mistakes. I don't think it's the end of the world. It's only week 4. We got about 17 weeks in the season. We're still in the playoff hunt. We're not falling off the face of the map. everything's good, all good and going for the Colts. I will say this: I think Daniel Jones, the way he brings that difference in that on the field for the Colts, he is a mature quarterback, and you're seeing that clear as day. With as many mistakes he makes, and he makes a lot of mistakes. He gets memed all the time. He'll probably get memed again today because he had those 2 picks. But Daniel Jones is a mature quarterback. He is a pro. Even if he's not the best quarterback in the universe, maybe he's just a tad overrated right now. But overall, Daniel Jones gives us the best chance to win right now. As much as we would like to see a younger quarterback coming in the future, right now in 2025, Daniel Jones gives us the best chance for us to win because of the offense around him, the weapons around him set up perfectly for Daniel Jones. And so we should not panic about the team right now.
I do think they need to make a move or two at the deadline, but I am very encouraged a quarter of the way through the season.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that they've exceeded expectation up to this point. I think 3-1. You were really happy if they ended up 3-1. Daniel Jones has played well. The 2 picks. I mean, the stat line looks worse than he played. I thought he was pretty efficient throughout the day. Obviously, his first pick coming in the first quarter on the first drive. That's unfortunate, but it just happens.
That's a really good defense, by the way.
I think the ball to Pittman was underthrown there in the 4th. I'm not sure it's a bad look. You've got to try to make something happen there down 7. My only counterpoint to Sam is you don't want your strong safety leading the team in tackles. That's not a good sign because that means that you are getting gashed and you are not making tackles even at the first level, the second level, and now the third level is where we're making 14 tackles. That's not efficient. That's not sustainable. And that's part of the issue that the Colts had last year was the fact that Nick Cross was second in the team in tackles. And I get he comes into the box, he plays physical, he plays well, but if Nick Cross is making a tackle, it's at least an 8-yard gain. Just organically. That's just how it's going to work by nature of his position. The linebackers continue.
Defensive backs are good at tackling.
They are good at tackling. It's definitely a strength and a skill set to have, but it definitely highlights the linebackers' inability to make plays or tackle.
Is just not good enough, and it's highlighted, guys, by Jared Verse on the other side of the ball, a guy that came the next pick after Latu. And I think most Colts fans were saying, hey, you just took Latu over Verse. What the heck are you thinking? And most of us turned out to be right. That guy is a beast and would have been great.
Well, and Latu is bad. I don't
know if he's bad,
but
he's definitely not good.
It goes again to show that Ballard has had issues scouting defensive line talent. I mean, really, Buckner was a guy that he traded for. That was a great move. I mean, Buckner has been really good as an Indianapolis Colt, but Latu has struggled. I mean, he just goes kind of on the graveyard of bad defensive end.
Not as bad as Quiddy Pay, but pretty close.
The Colts are still, I think, just fine. The whole year is out in front of them. This was a tough win. I mean, none of the 3 of us even picked the Colts to win this game, so it's not like we didn't kind of expect it. It's just, I think the sentiment from the fans especially is it's just disappointing when you really had the opportunity to win a football game here this afternoon in LA and you just kind of pissed it away. That's the sentiment. I don't think it's people frustrated with the Colts. Losses are going to happen in a 17 game season, but it's just sad to see opportunities that you had kind of right there in your palm kind of slip out.
I quote Al Pacino from Scent of a Woman when I say, ooh-ah, the one that got away. All right, guys. Speaking of ones that get away, can't let either of the next 2 get away. Get the Raiders at home and the Cardinals at home, and if you're a serious team, you got to beat both those teams, right?
Yeah, you definitely don't want to get into a losing streak coming up here because, you know, as fortunate as our start is, you know, we've been fortunate enough to have a schedule where our first half of the schedule is semi-favorable, I think, on paper. I think the second half of the schedule does get a little bit tougher, and so I think we want to make sure that we are building upon those games. And so as much as we like to be disappointed, and I am disappointed, I'm as disappointed as anybody on this room. I was upset when that first major mistake happened in that football game, just like anybody else would. But at the end of the day, it's a football game. We learn from our mistakes. Now we just got to move forward and take advantage of those mistakes much better, especially against the Raiders team that I don't think they're a great football team. I don't think they're a playoff team at all, or the Las Vegas Raiders, but I do have enough talent that they can beat any team on a given Sunday. And I think even that Chargers-Giants game, it shows you that any game, any team can beat you. So we got to make sure that in our next game, we got to make sure that we're playing mistake-free football as much as possible.
Tough into the schedule for sure. I agree. I think it's backloaded. These are 2 games you have to win. You really need to be 5-1 at home. Just a loss to the Raiders or the Cardinals, really, after we watched the Cardinals play on Thursday Night Football, it would be disappointing without question. I think the Colts are definitely the better team, both on paper and in practicality in those games, and they shouldn't be taken lightly as a favorite either. I think the Colts can cover. I think the Colts can play really good football. You just hope that a game like today doesn't snowball, and you hope that you come out and can just kind of put your nose right to Las Vegas quickly in the first quarter and almost put the game away before it even gets started. That's what you hope.
And let's let our guest take us out with his final thoughts.
Really big stretch for the Colts here in a 2-game homestand, to where you got to beat the Raiders, you got to beat the Cardinals, and I think they're going to. Seeing what we saw from the Cardinals on Thursday Night Football the other night, it was a game where I didn't think they looked very good. They had to come back. Marvin Harrison Jr. struggled. Him coming to Indy. That's in 2 weeks, though. We're still going to have another Colts game before that. And you got the Raiders that have struggled. Geno has really struggled this year. Ashton Genty had a really good game today, 3 touchdowns against the Bears. But there's a lot of football to be played for this Colts team. They're gonna have a huge opportunity to be able to bounce back next week. I think they will bounce back, and I think you're going to see a positive result from the Colts this next week. Things are going to have to change, though, going forward. Like we said, Xavier Howard can't be on the field as much, if ever. You're going to have to cut him. I don't think it was in this group thread. It may have been in another group thread that I was in that someone said they need to cut A.D. Mitchell. They're not going to cut him. They shouldn't cut him. He's still a really good player. He's a young guy. He's got the body. He's a good athlete. Maybe they missed Alec Pierce a little bit today, but I still think A.D. Mitchell is going to be a really good player for the Colts in the future. He's going to be able to bounce back from this. This is a minor setback. And like Will said, you play 17, 18 games, you're going to lose. You're going to lose games. I mean, the Super Bowl, I guarantee you the Super Bowl champion this year has already lost 1 game or 2. So nothing to be discouraged about. A lot of football to be played. I think it's an excuse of a loss. You didn't lose to the worst team in the league. We've seen the Colts have so many gut-wrenching, bad losses over the years. This was far from one of them today. So big opportunity to bounce back in the next couple of weeks at home, and I think they're going to get it done. I'm not worried at all.
Please join us first thing Thursday morning for the Colts Report. Actually, just go subscribe so you don't miss any of our segments. We have weekly reports on IU, Purdue, Pacers, Fever, IndyCar, high school football and basketball, and we're looking to add some more, so please go subscribe. We're all over the place: SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, YouTube. We're also at Twitter and Facebook and all those things. Go find us, go subscribe. Thank you, and go Colts. Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media. And I am super proud to say that I love Susie.